Hi everyone, welcome to week 6. This week we'll be discussing thinking as method and thinking with methods, as well as video as research. So throughout this course we've been considering the necessary dispositions and sensitivities required in our roles as teachers and researchers. So we've been troubling the notion of the objective, isolated individual in the pursuit of truth, and situating our research on the borderlines of knowledge, so sitting on the edge of what we already know and being sensitive to that which lies on the other side of that edge, so flirting with the unknown parts of ourselves and our ways of seeing the world. We've been thinking with research as a poeticizing activity that requires methods beyond a direct objective observation and representation. So the orientations that we've been thinking with require particular ways of paying attention and representing our interpretations. So this week we'll be considering how our methods of research and ways of thinking are not separate from each other, that the themes that we gather in research are very much co-composed within acts of thinking, researching, and living with others. So we'll be considering more deeply how artistic languages offer us spaces to think with a lived experience in this way. Last week we discussed photography as a way of seeing and how we might think with photography in ways which disrupt what Haraway calls the godlike trick of objective knowledge, disrupting traditional photography practices and experimenting with photography in ways which unsettle a taken for granted or assumed view of what something is, and representing it in a way that stretches an assumed truth and enhances the essential qualities of a lived moment. So we'll be talking further about what other artistic languages might help us to enhance these qualities of a moment. So this week we'll be reading Sylvia Kine and Adrian Argent's article called Using Video and Pedagogical Documentation, and Miriam Cooley's article called On Video Poems. We'll also be reading Max van Manen's chapter 4 to help us get a better sense of how we might begin thinking about themes and gathering themes. So by Friday at 11:55 p.m., visit 3 video links that are posted on Moodle in week 6 and post your portfolio entry 5 in the forum. By Sunday at 11:55 p.m., participate in your group's 1-hour virtual collaboratory and respond to 2 other portfolio entries. So this week we'll be drawing on experiences and conversations that you've had in your portfolio assignments and to begin thinking about the methods that might best enhance your attention to this topic in the Living Inquiry assignment. So start to think about how some of these artistic languages and methods might enhance your living inquiry. So as a reminder, each portfolio entry is part of your final portfolio. Each entry is part of a composition that will be marked toward the end of the course. So please visit the assignment rubric that's posted on Moodle in the course information section for more on what I'll be looking for in these assignments. So your website is your portfolio. This is what will be marked, but I'll also be looking for evidence that this work has a collaborative element. So evidence that you've been discussing the work with others in the forums, in your virtual collaboratories, and that there's a relational and co-compositional element to your portfolio assignment. So we also will be having a face-to-face meeting at Capilano University if you're interested and if you feel that you'd like some extra support. It'll be on Tuesday, October 16th from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So Sylvia has generously offered to support this face-to-face meeting at Capilano to support you in your inquiry assignments. So I'll be joining via Skype, and together we can have some conversations about where you're headed in this assignment and how Sylvia and I might be able to help you in the direction that you're going. So bring your questions and emerging photos, videos, ideas, and notes that you're considering for your inquiry assignment, and I will keep you posted with the details on where we'll be meeting in what room. So that information will be coming later this week. So in your last virtual collaboratory group, you discussed some of the emerging themes that you noticed in your portfolio entry 4. And in your exhibit that's due this Friday, you're going to try to enhance a particular theme and illuminate it through your photos or video composition. So Van Manen writes on gathering themes that theme is the experience of focus, of meaning, of point. Theme formulation is at its best a simplification. So knowing that when we're gathering themes, these themes are always incomplete. There's never a wholeness or absoluteness to our ways of gathering themes. Themes are not objects one encounters or moments in a text. So themes are something that are much more than just an object or a moment. It's rather something that you can gather from a series of moments or the essence of something, the underlying structure of an encounter. Theme is the form of capturing the phenomenon one tries to understand, and theme gives shape to the shapeless. So themes emerge in the lived experience as a desire to make sense of something. So something that you're noticing in these lived moments that's pulling you to a particular consideration, to a particular concept that might help you to gain an understanding about this moment. So we can think of themes as sort of a generative knot, a concept that echoes through a series of moments and calls us to think about a particular point of interest. So in this week's video links that are posted on Moodle, pay attention to what themes you gather as you're watching each video. So in particular, I think you can see in Tom Killingback's short film called Figures, how he uses the artistry of film and video and music actually to illuminate a particular theme, the theme that comes to him as he's revisiting and representing his experience of living in Hong Kong. So pay attention to the themes that you notice rising in this video. So in Miriam Cooley's article this week, she cites Deleuze in saying that modes of life inspire ways of thinking. Modes of thinking create ways of living. So in this way, I think we can consider that research is entangled in the moments of life, and pedagogy is also entangled in the moments of life. So we can think of our methods of research and of thought not as separate from, but deeply situated in the experience of a lived moment where nothing exists outside. Multiple components are active in the composition of a moment, of our interpretation of that moment, and our response. So Law writes that methods produce realities, that our methods of research produce realities and the ways in which we live in the world. So the ways in which we attend to and speak of a phenomenon creates the ways in which this phenomenon takes shape and is shaped by the world. So therefore, when we're thinking about methods, it matters which methods we use and we choose to interpret and represent phenomena. We discussed previously how language is more than a tool of communication, how language creates worlds, and we can also think of this in terms of methods as well, how writing and photography and videography composes worlds. So why does this matter, and why in this course are we considering the arts as a methodological focus? So what do the arts allow for pedagogically as we conceptualize our role as teachers and researchers? I think that this quote by Elliot Eisner particularly speaks to this element of why the arts and why does methodology matter. It's written that artistic processes promise to increase the variety of questions that we ask about the educational situations we study. We can expect new ways of seeing things, new settings for their display, and new problems to tackle. Put another way, our capacity to wonder is stimulated by the possibilities the new forms of representation suggest. So in this way, the arts gives us space to notice and to trouble and to reconfigure our view and ways of being. There's a particular stimulation, a pulse, and a response that we're called for through the arts. And I think in this way we can use the arts to conceive of a research process that's always becoming. It's not something that's static or finished, a project that has an end, but rather if we think about the arts and research and pedagogy, we can consider it as something that's always becoming. So in paying attention to a lived moment of inquiry, we might notice that particular methods of research may be more useful than others. So if we're noticing and thinking with the movement of fabric, for example, there may be particular methods that might enhance the lived experience of this phenomenon. So the way that light moves with fabric as children enact movements of the river here in Cuenca. This is a photograph from a narration here with the children in Cuenca. We used fabric to speak with the river, sliding in a slippery way over rocks. The light was bouncing off in ways which correspond with the brightness of the intense sun that we often have here in the afternoon, colliding with moving water, as there are many rivers here in Cuenca. And this enactment with fabric is a response to our relation with the river that's by our school. So last week we discussed the languages of photography and how we might think with photography to enhance an attention to the movement and impermanence of something. And this week we'll be considering videography as a way of seeing. So in our living inquiry assignments, be intentional with your choice of methods. So how might a particular method be brought into dialogue with the qualities of the phenomenon? So in this example, photography gave me the space to look closely at fabric and its relations with light and really illuminate the qualities of fabric which spoke to the essence of the river. So I was illuminating a particular way of noticing the river through material and through photography. So when we're thinking about our methods, appreciate that each of these methods brings something specific and may illuminate particular qualities. So you can think about how the methods that you choose might work in relation with your inquiry to generate something that is specific to this event, something that this event calls for, to create an experience with dimension and complexity.